and Excellence in World of Poetry Award on 5th January 2010 by International Poets Academy, Chennai, India. He has been recently conferred with the citation of the brightest honor. National Sufi Center, Bangalore, and recognized among 25 Indian English poets for their contribution to command harmony and cosmic humanism. Thank you, sir. Welcome you, sir. We heartily welcome you to this program, sir. Over to you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Raja ma'am, for the detailed introduction. Am I now permitted to start my talk?
Yes, sir. So, okay. Yeah, welcome. So,
thank you.
Sir, yes, sir, delivers lecture on soft skills now. Thank you very much, sir. You can proceed.
So, you have to make me the presenter.
Sir, directly you can present, sir.
Okay, fine. Just a minute.
No, madam. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. No problem.
Is it visible?
Yes, yes, sir.
I think it's visible and I'm audible as well.
Yes, sir.
Okay. A very good morning to one and all present here. Before I start my talk, I would like to express my indebtedness to JNTU Anantapur and especially to Professor Chitra ma'am, who took the pains to invite me and put a lot of trust in me that my lecture was needed. My dear friends, online teaching nowadays has become a routine affair. And every other day we are talking from our room and delivering our talk from a small room to all the corners of the world. Now, today's talk that I have oriented it as effective classroom teaching through soft skills. My dear friends, I would like to be apologized if I, some way or the other, try to impose my views on you. Because as I have come to know, that majority of the attendees happen to be teachers. And talking to the teachers is very difficult because teachers are habituated to teach and not to listen. But during this pandemic era, it has actually become mandatory not only to teach, but to listen, and the vice versa. Now, during this era, in order to keep the interest of students intact, when they are having lots of facilities at their own, and they're also in a situation when they can at times tamper with the buttons you are using. Technologically, our students are smarter. I think that must be admitted. But then teaching has to continue. Teaching has to go on. And for this, we have to evolve a system through which not only can we continue the interest of our students, but also let things go on as they used to. Dear friends, online teaching, which might appear to many of us as something very difficult, is not that difficult. At times, we often have a sort of concern, not only among students, but among parents, among teachers. And that is why I'm reminded of one of the beautiful lines of Samuel Beckett, a famous dramatist, who in one of his plays, Waiting for Godot, says, "Nothing happens, nobody comes, nobody goes, it's awful." So the present scenario is like that. We are all confined in our own houses, not only we, the students as well. And then we find nothing before us except the screen. And on one side of the screen, we as teachers, and on the other side of the screen, they as students, and the sort of discourse, the sort of communication ensues that at times becomes difficult, that at times becomes challenging. Many of you who are already experienced teachers might feel it more because we were not used to this sort of teaching. But in technical institutes, this is not new, especially those who are exposed to online teaching, especially in terms of MOOCs, in terms of NPTEL, SWAYAM, ePathshala, and many more. So for them, it may not be new, but for them who have taken up this profession of late, and they are unable to situate themselves amid the challenges that are haunting their minds, that are actually creating anxieties for them. So my dear friends, my advice to them is nothing will stop. It is only a question of mind. To those who feel it is a situation where to be or not to be is a problem, fine. It is one of the lines from Shakespeare where Hamlet says, to be or not to be, that is the question. For many of us, we have so many phantoms, so many fears as to what will happen in the days to come, or if the situation continues. But my dear friends, nothing worse will happen. It is simply a period which is unusual, and all unusual times and period will be over. The only thing is that we need to look within, we need to make a sort of introspection, because when we joined as teachers, we might have joined with a sort of coveted desire. So here are some of the questions that we need to ask ourselves. To all of us who think that facing these students when they are not visible, when there's a sort of invisibility and we are trying to make ourselves visible, when there's a sort of absence and we are trying to make ourselves present, during these two sides, during these two poles, between these two poles of thought, what actually is required is a sort of introspection. Here are some of the questions that all of us must ask ourselves. I hope I am audible. I think I am audible.
Yes, sir, you are audible, sir.
Oh, fine.
Yes,
fine.
sir, you are audible, sir.
Fine. So now the questions are, do we believe that teaching is a noble profession? I think majority of us will say in the affirmative that of course we join teaching because it is a noble profession. Moreover, we should also ask ourselves that we became a teacher because we could not enter any other profession. If your answer is no, how do you rate come and ask ourselves if this pandemic in some way or the other has affected our teaching, how can we neutralize the effect of this? Another question that we must ask ourselves is our teaching effective? Now, in order to understand whether our teaching is effective or not, there's a very simple formula. No, there's a very, very simple device. If our students are waiting for our class, the meaning is that we still continue to exist. We adjust, my dear friends. If we somehow or the other feel that they are not waiting for our class, then perhaps we must look within and ask ourselves that there may be some problems. Now, in order to sustain the interest of students, we must also ask ourselves, how do we behave with our students? I think many of you who are now going to teach, and in many of the colleges and institutes where the new entrants in the form of BTech, in the form of PhDs, they might have come, you will find that there is a sudden change in their behavior. Actually, this pandemic has changed the behavior of so many. I think all of us will sadly admit this fact. Now, during this crisis, the sort of behavior that ensued in them, how to tackle, how to control, a sort of endeavor to be accessible to them, fine, during these times of crisis. We cannot be as harsh, we cannot be as rigid, we cannot be as strict as we used to be. Because if we consider ourselves to be in problem, they are more in problem than us, my dear friends. Now, in physical classrooms, we at times, when we were irked, miffed, we used to shout at them also, though this shout was generally to bring some changes in them. Now, I think this cannot be possible during this crisis, because we never know in which condition, in what mental state, in what sort of ambience, in what sort of facility they are. So what we need to do is we actually need to concentrate on our own behavior. And then there are other things also. You see, the new students who come to the institutes, they actually look at your credibility. By your peers who are working in your area. So please try to find out how are you rated among your peers. There are several issues related to your likes and dislikes by your peers. There are several things which count on when we talk about our own. Also ask our students in such an age, in such a period, when we cannot be face to face as we used to, even though we can see their images, icons and all, but then to have the proper interaction, it is very difficult. So then how can we make our teaching qualitative, effective? Should we not? Of course, the time has come when we need to change our strategies, because many of us who feel that if such a situation continues,